Go, sell everything that you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. What a challenge these words were to this young man. He was very, very rich. Indeed, for him, the challenge was too great. Mark tells us that at this, his face fell. He went away sad because he had great wealth and he wasn't prepared to part with it. On a different occasion, Jesus tells us that the kingdom of heaven is like a pearl of great value, which a merchant sold everything to obtain. So who do you and who do I align with here? The merchant who sold everything, or the young man unwilling to give up everything? Let's be honest for once. We're much more like the rich young ruler than the merchant, aren't we? Not one of us has given up everything for the kingdom, have we? And in truth, I think that the richer we become as a nation, and the richer we become as individuals, the less generous we are towards God and other people. I've heard preachers say that we sort of don't have to give up everything, but just be willing to do so. And of course we are willing to give up everything, aren't we? It's just that God hasn't demanded it of us. Others have said that we hold everything in trust for God and use it as he wills us. Well, I don't buy any of these excuses. The fact is that none of us has been willing to sacrifice everything that we have for the kingdom. We may be a bit mean and give a little and do so reluctantly, or we may be generous and give willingly and often. But everything, not a chance. When God asks us to make a real sacrifice, then we suddenly become dead. Of course, we have all sorts of excuses, don't we? We have a family to care for. We need to eat and to clothe ourselves. We need somewhere to live and to be warm. And of course, we need something to put by for a rainy day. And all of those reasons are valid, but all reveal a lack of trust in God. And all, in one way or another, mean that we only have one foot in the kingdom of heaven. Jesus said it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Of course, none of us are rich, are we? For while we might all have a different idea of what rich is, we all know that rich people own much more than we do. Only other people are rich. I would suggest that the reason that Christianity is failing in this country is down to a lack of true commitment amongst Christians at all levels, from those in the pews to those in high office. I see nobody willing to really sacrifice themselves for the kingdom, whether that's in terms of popularity or time or money. Our forefathers had little in terms of material possessions, but they were sacrificial in giving of their time and their money and even their lives. Could we, just us, raise the money to buy or build a new church? Farm labourers did in the past. Would we be prepared to leave everything behind to start a new life in a strange and forbidding country? The Pilgrim Fathers did. Sometimes, just sometimes, our lack of faith, our lack of commitment, our unwillingness to give up everything for God is put to shame by someone from outside the church. Such a man is Chuck Beamy, and I would recommend Chuck Beamy to you. Chuck is an amazing man. He's an American, and he is or was a billionaire. He's not a billionaire anymore because he's given everything away. And when I say everything, I mean everything. He made his money in duty-free, and he spent years living frugally and quietly handing out huge sums of money. And now in his 90s, he lives a quiet life in a 2-bedroom rented apartment in San Francisco. He owns no property. He has no car, no domestic luxuries. All his life, even when he was a billionaire, he flew economy, carried his papers in a plastic carrier bag, and ordered the second cheapest wine in restaurants. In 2020, however, Chuck Feeney completed the task he'd set himself to do in 1984. Because in 1984, he secretly transferred his shareholding in duty-free shoppers to the foundation which became Atlantic Philanthropies. You see, duty-free shoppers was the business that made him a billionaire. And what he did was, he actually set up a duty-free shop, first of all in Hawaii, at a time when the Japanese tourists were flying into Hawaii. And so it was said that every day he had cars taking carloads of money, notes, to the bank, because he made so much money from that business. He then moved the business on by having duty-free shops in Europe for the American soldiers who were here on duty, and they could buy anything like a car or anything on duty-free and ship it back to America. So he made a vast, vast fortune, but he gave it all. Because, as I said in 1984, he secretly transferred this business into something, a foundation called the Atlantic Philanthropies. And the duty of Atlantic Philanthropies was to give this money away. And in 2020, he signed the papers to dissolve the foundation because it had spent every last penny of his $8 billion fortune. And over the decades, it's handed out 6,500 grants to promote education, human rights, science, and healthcare. And how he did this is indeed a remarkable tale. As I said, he made it from duty-free shopping. And then he gave it away, almost completely unnoticed. His giving was so undercover that the few in the know called him the James Bond of philanthropy. For more than a decade, he operated so clandestinely that when he made a donation to his own university, Cornell, the president of the university had to convince his board of trustees that the anonymous donation wasn't mafia money. His giving finally came out into the public in 1997 as a result of litigation over the sale of a business. Only then did Chuck Feeney feel it was appropriate to unmask himself. And what did he give to? Who did he give to? If he spent a small sum in his private life, he did the opposite in his giving. He threw large sums at the causes he cared about. He gave nearly $1 billion to his university. He gave $270 million to modernise Vietnam's healthcare system after the Vietnam War. He spent $62 million on campaigns to abolish the death penalty in the United States. He handed $176 million to the Global Brain Health Institute at the University of California to fight a cure for dementia. And he spent almost $2 billion on projects in Ireland, north and south, to support education and both sides in the peace process. When he met a dozen multi-millionaires in 2008, he told them, "It's a lot more fun to give while you live than give while you're dead. Try it, you'll like it." Which brings us back to the account of the rich young ruler. He was unwilling to do what Chuck Finney did, and he went away sad. But where does that leave you? And where does that leave me? Shortly, we will participate in an act of remembrance. We will share bread and wine, reminders of the sacrificial giving of God in Jesus Christ. Christ died for me. Christ died for you. Such is the love and generosity of God. Are we prepared to respond with the same love and generosity?